Hey, it's Candy, your host of Champagne and Cigars. And today is a very important show. I have some phenomenal ladies on today. We're bringing awareness to breast cancer and Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So welcome, ladies, for coming on the show. It's a very important topic that needs to be brought to the table and things need to be discussed. So I welcome you again here to Champagne and Cigars. Like some of the statistics that they say, especially for Black women, according to Living Beyond Breast Cancer, Black women are twice as likely to be diagnosed with triple-negative breast cancer more than white women. They're also 30% more likely to die from these tumors because of lower rates of surgery and chemotherapy in the Black community. Higher incidence of inflammatory breast cancer and aggressive but uncommon type of breast cancer. So I'm just glad that we're able to be on this platform to discuss an important topic. So welcome. If you don't mind, could each of you ladies just give a brief description so that our viewers know who you are? So we'll start with Ms. Adrienne Thomas.
Hello, so my name is Adrienne Thomas. I am a breast cancer survivor. I was diagnosed last year, August of 21, at the age of 37. Last summer I was in Hawaii and I was just taking a shower and I happened to go across a lump in my left breast, and so I had a best friend who had breast cancer, so I immediately texted her and she was like, well, just relax and when you come back home we'll get you some scans done. So fast forward, the next month I go to see the doctor and they order an ultrasound and a mammogram, and I end up being diagnosed with triple-negative breast cancer. So I went through about 5 or 6 months of chemotherapy, surgery, and radiation, and I have been not cancer-free because they don't like to say cancer-free, but they didn't find any cancer after I had surgery for, so I've been a few months out now.
Wonderful, wonderful. Miss Kim Roxy.
Hey, Candy.
Hey, how are you, my friend?
No, I'm so happy to be with you today. So I'm Kim Roxy, Kimroxie, the founder of Lamique Beauty, and also a former caretaker and a daughter of Loretta Wiggins, who passed away, my mom, from metastatic breast cancer. And metastatic breast cancer day is October 13th. I just always love to bring that up to bring more awareness around that one. I have just turned into an advocate, and it also has turned me into a philanthropist. We've raised, $500,000 for uninsured Black women to get mammograms, and we work through the roles to do that. But I could go on a laundry list of organizations that we support. Angels Surviving Cancer, Pretty Girls with Cancer, all of these organizations, they help to save lives.
Wonderful, wonderful. And my sister name? Miss Candace, please tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Candace Rose with Pretty Girls with Cancer. We're a 501c3 here based out of Houston, Texas. We started in 2011. I am a 3-time cancer survivor, and I started with one of my high school friends who had cancer. She had ovarian cancer. We work with women who are facing cancer, caregivers. I myself, as a caregiver, my mom passed away from cancer, and my brother. I was their caregivers as well. And we work with women with all type of cancer. But in breast cancer, actually, the first 2 years I had a lot of women in my organization that had breast cancer, and they all were under 33.
Wow.
So you think that breast cancer is like, oh, wait till you're 40 to get your test. I can tell you right now that as the co-founder of Pretty Girls with Cancer, all of our women were under 32 years old that had breast cancer.
Wow.
I'm just like Kim here. I'm an advocate, and I like to spread the word, raise money, do activities and programs to support those families with cancer, because cancer affects the entire family, just not one person.
Yep.
Got it. Well, welcome again, ladies. Thank you for being here. On Champagne and Cigars, I normally start off like with a little icebreaker. So I ask you some questions. So please, whatever, just say what comes to mind. So it's just a little icebreaker. So, what's your favorite champagne? Or if you don't drink champagne, then.
Pear. I like pear.
Okay,
I've
nice.
never had that.
I've never tried that before.
Pear.
Yeah, I'm not a champagne drinker. So, I mean, my favorite to celebrate with is sparkling water, but, that's just me.
Bring on the sparkle.
So I'm not much of a champagne drinker either. So I don't even know names, but whatever.
Whatever they got.
someone gives me.
They give you, yeah.
Rosé.
Okay, yeah, I like those too. Yeah.
What's yours?
Ooh, I would have to say, I like a lot of them.
Pressure.
I know. I'll just stick with my Moet.
Okay.
So yeah,
You
but I
keep
like
it
the
classy.
clue. Yeah, I try to keep it classy because I like it more so in mimosas than anything. Like I like a mimosa,
Yes.
So okay. So if you can go on a date, hypothetically, with any one of the following, who would it be and why? Idris?
You gotta go on straight in here today.
We just, we right to it. Let's get to it. Would it be Idris Elba or Morris Chestnut?
Oh, wow.
I'm trying to see what flavor y'all feeling.
What was the choices?
Idris Elba or Morris Chestnut?
The first one.
Oh, Idris.
Idris, yes. Because, he's from a different country. It would be nice to learn from him and his cultural differences. And plus, I just like his voice. He's sexy. Enough said.
Gotcha.
Sorry, he has a wife.
I would have to go with Idris as well. Just his voice, his accent, just his whole demeanor.
Yeah, I got it.
I'm gonna go with Morris Chestnut because, I mean, you think about he's classic, almost like a classic sort of,
Gotcha.
nice. Yeah, seems nice.
Okay. We'll get off the men list. If your friends could describe you in 3 words, what would those 3 words be?
For me, I think it would be survivor, a leader, and just funny.
And funny. Okay,
I kind of
good.
just say what's on my mind without filters sometimes.
Got it.
They probably would say strong, goofy or silly, and maybe like an introvert until I get to know you. So yeah.
Okay.
I was sitting up here trying to think of the words that my friends have used before. So I was like, what have they said? They say things like determined. They say things like almost like I can keep it real with you, like I can tell you, that kind of thing, transparency or whatever you want to put it there. And then I think, something else, I mean, a lot of them are like, kind of like, how do you come up with this stuff a little bit? So just a little bit around like quotes and talks and stuff like that. Like,
Okay.
where you get this from?
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. Next one. We all have these. I know I do, but what are your TV guilty pleasures? Like those shows you're like, I ain't gonna tell nobody I watched this show, but I do. Do any of y'all have those?
Yes.
What is yours?
I'm too embarrassed to even say. I'll let you go first.
I to be honest, I gotta think about that. I don't even be watching TV,
Right, I
so
know, that's true.
you gotta, let me.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Kim when I do have to watch television. Okay, so I would have to say The Housewives. I'll keep it safe. I'll say The Housewives.
That's mine too. Like I'll be like,
I like
why am I watching it? But then I'm recording it.
watching
like, and I'll be like, I have that one show, but I will record that show.
Which housewives though?
I watched the one in Atlanta. Like maybe because that's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Married to Medicine because because it comes right on after a video.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I watch The Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Okay.
Sometimes Love and Hip Hop Atlanta.
Okay.
In New York.
I just say, I guess my thing is probably, that's kind of like, what? It's just, I almost sound like a Gen Z, but it's like Instagram for me. It's just like the reels, just you know what I mean? Finding those crazy, and I may go to the shade room every now and then because I know as soon as you get on there, it's like it takes up your time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm here for a good little reel, a good little video that catch my attention, make me laugh, something silly. So.
Got it. Okay, so let's jump right into the conversation into why we're here today. And this is an open question to each of you. Where were you when you found out you had breast cancer or a loved one had cancer?
Okay, well, I'll go first. My dad lives in Hawaii, so we were actually on summer vacation. Well, that's when I found the lump. So, but where I was diagnosed, I guess I was here in Houston. School, I'm a school counselor, so school had just started, and I think my mammogram and ultrasound was like the day after school started. So it was right here in the Houston area.
Okay.
When I found out my mom had breast cancer the first time, I was finding out that my makeup brand was going inside of a major retailer store at the time. So it was like this extreme high that I was excited about, but then like my best friend, like this wasn't just my mom. Candace knows her mom used to always hang out. Me and my mom always were together. And so, it was like, I couldn't even really, if it wasn't for her enthusiasm, really find a way to even be happy about this big moment in my business because my mind was on her. But because of the energy that she had, she was like, oh, we're not worried about this. Let's stay focused on what you're doing in business. And that's what we did. But I'll say the second time when it came back, for some reason, that's the time it hit me the hardest, that it just didn't feel right anymore. And I was at her house and she told me, and because when she told me the first time, I was just on my phone. But this time she told me face to face, and I just like ran off and ran into the room and just had a breakdown because I was just like, wait, I thought we were going over this. So, yeah.
I've had cancer 3 times, so I'm gonna choose another person. My mom is that story is so relatable. So, Pretty Close to Cancer was having a fashion show, big fashion show. I had Men's Warehouse sponsoring the men, and I had the women. Makeup, hair. It was a huge show coming out. And on the phone, just like him, my mom kept having stomach issues. And so she kept going to the doctor. So some reason, I can't even tell you why, she said, well, I'm gonna go to the doctor and see what they found out. And I said, let me go with you. Like, I didn't even go to any of her doctors. I literally just jumped in the car with her. So just like you, I'm in the office, I'm in the doctor's office, and she's across, and I'm on the phone, like, wrapping up stuff for the fashion show, like how many tickets do we need to sell, and the doctor comes in crying. And I'm like, hold on one second. I literally was like, hold on one second. I had the phone in my ear. I said, what's going on? And my mom was sitting there, and the doctor came in, and she said, I'm so sorry, Miss Rose. I'm so sorry, Miss Rose. And she was just crying, and she couldn't even finish her sentence. And I was like, let me call you back. And I put the phone down, and I said, what is going on? And she said, you have cancer. And just like Kim's mom, my mom knew I had that huge event coming up, and she said, you have cancer. I don't think it's good. I'm so sorry. She said, just stay in here. Let me go get some more doctors so we can talk to you. And my mom was like, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. And she was like fighting back tears, and she was just like, just focus on your fashion show. It's gonna be okay. And I walked out, and I was just like, let it loose, because I couldn't hold it anymore. But just like your mother, she knew that was one of I've been working so hard to get that. I just got on the TV. I was on the news channels, like I was excited. And even in the midst of her situation, she was still trying to protect me. So I was just speechless. But I was in the room on the phone doing business, and that's when they told my mom that she had cancer. She had colon cancer and ovarian cancer.
Okay. So that's something that kind of runs in your family? Or?
So my great grandmother died from breast cancer. My grandmother died of Hodgkin's. My mom died of ovarian and colon. My brother died of sarcoma. My aunt died of breast cancer. I had leukemia and I had Hodgkin's. It's cancer all over the place.
All over the place.
Yeah, all over the place, yeah.
Any of you other ladies, does it run in your family that you may know of?
My dad had a form of cancer, and I remember I was in high school when that happened. But he went into remission and hasn't seen cancer again. And then none of my grandparents that I knew of, I think they ended up saying a great grandparent had cancer, had breast cancer, but that's about all.
So my mom's mom, she actually passed away the day before I had my ultrasound and mammogram. She had colon cancer, but she was 95, and then my mom's dad had prostate cancer, and then one of her brothers had prostate cancer as well.
Okay. If you don't mind sharing, like, what was your process, with cancer?
So, like, emotionally?
Just emotionally.
Oh, okay. So when I first was going through, like, trying to see if I had it, I was thinking worst case scenario. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna die. What are my kids gonna do? And so that's where.
Take your time.
That's where my my thought process first went was, well, what's gonna happen to my sons? I'm a single mom, so I was just like, that's the only thing I could worry about was my boys. What's gonna happen to my boys? So, and then so I went through the process. I met with the oncologist and everything. And once he gave me like a plan of what I was gonna have to do, I felt better because I felt like, okay, now I have a plan. The only thing I have to do is just go through it and fight. And so, it was hard, but once I started going through everything, it wasn't easy, but it was easier knowing like, okay, this is the process of what I'm gonna have to do. And I continued to work through everything while I was dealing with it, but emotionally it was quite hard. I know not just on me, but the whole family.
The whole family. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kim, I know you probably have like a different perspective being a caretaker and with it being your mom. Mm-hmm. Like, how was that emotionally like for you? Because I know you probably was like, I want to be strong, but then like, but it's my mom. So I'm sure all type of emotions was running through. Like, how did you manage that?
Yeah, that second bout that we had, that's the time that it was really taxing on me. Mm-hmm. Like I said, the first time, pretty much kept good spirits around. She really evident about it. But the second time was just different because I felt like also my mom was preparing me. So she was preparing me for life. Mm-hmm. I mean, and so it's almost like, a big test is coming up or something, and how you cram in. I felt like my mom was, even though she didn't say it, but she was giving me so much life lessons, books and different things, and just preparing me. My mom gave me a book on God's gift for mothers, promises for mothers. I didn't have any kids at the time. Mm-hmm. And she literally was preparing me. And so I remember she passed away October 2014 in Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Such a diva. She wanted to make a point. And because she gave us marching orders for the future, me and my sisters. But I remember September of 2014, she was in the hospital. and I would always take the night shift. I would always be with her at night. And she said to me, there's going to be a black and white affair coming up. And I said, oh, okay. I said, she said, it's going to be Martin Luther King weekend. And I said, oh, okay. So then she was like, yeah, you're going to do it. Well, what she was talking about was me getting married. And I said, oh, okay. But she never said wedding. She just said, you're going to do it. I said, okay. So then we're getting down and how cancer reckons the body. And I was on night shift. So basically we're getting down to the last days and she's like a baby. And she would get up in the middle of the night reckoning in pain. And I take her to the bathroom, all this kind of stuff. And she said, you know, I'm getting you ready for a baby, right? And I said, okay. And again, not even accepting this whole situation. And so she ended up passing away when I left the house to actually go to my store. I remember immediately after, it's like I knew exactly what to do. Planned, wrote her eulogy. I mean, just did everything. Got married Martin Luther King weekend. Remember, she passed away in October. So by January, I'm married. By February, I'm pregnant. So I just must say that, you know, even through that personal time of everything, she also prepared me. And I had to be open and listening and not so much in my feelings rather than looking towards the fortress of what was to come. And she really helped me to do that. So it's just interesting the way it happened. Sometimes I grieve over the fact that she was so strong to do that.
Right. I just can't imagine like watching your loved one go through that because, you know, that's our moms or our dads or whatever. So that's wonderful that she was able to prepare you. Like we always may question why, but then later you look at the bigger picture and be like, this is what she laid out for me. So,
and she told me about young women. She said, Kim, we have to save young women so they can be with their kids. She said, we have to.
Yeah.
And those are the things that we did. She told me, Kim, these bras they got, She said, I want you to give an angel surviving cancer, and I want you to write a check to them. We gotta get some bras. Like she gave me marching orders for my life.
And I don't think a lot of people even know the importance of bras or you know, we're so uneducated about, and I don't know if it's a fear in our community as to knowing the unknown or whatever, because I used to be like, I mean, hypothetical questions will be like, well, if I ever got cancer, would I tell my family? Would I tell my kids? Like, you know, that's just, I don't know how I, you know, and it could be just a lack of education or whatever, but, you know, I just try to stay on top of being informed.
And she's no longer here, but I feel comfortable telling her story because she used to tell her story to everyone. One of the young ladies that had a pretty aggressive cancer when I first started, she was 22, and walking around with flakes in her breast, pulse coming out of her nipples, and not doing anything about it because she was scared. She was like, oh, it's going to go away, uneducated. And when you look back at it, you think, common sense would think, okay, something's coming out of your nipples, you're going to go to the doctor. You have flakes in your breast, you're going to go tell someone. She's 22 years old and she doesn't know what's going on. The only reason she went to the doctors is because she was changing her t-shirt. Her mom walked in her room and was like, what is going on with you? What is going on with your breast? Literally her mother. If not, she would have just kept going and saying, it's something, it's stress, whatever. Long story short, unfortunately, she beat cancer, and then it came back with her breast cancer. But I remember having a conversation with her, and she said, now that I look back at it, I was just scared. I didn't want to, you know, the culture where she's from, because she's up from Texas, is that like, I'd rather not find out. Let me just die without knowing. And she said, if I could take that back, the first time I would have saw something unnatural in my bra, I would have went to the doctor, because she did it almost a year. She almost did it for a whole year. And as older women now, because I was a little bit younger than now, you know, I'm like, golly, like, that's common sense, but it's not.
Right.
It is not common sense.
And a lot of people, like I said, it's just, like you said, common sense and stuff that we don't know. So Adrian, I know it's been a process for you. It's something that you're still going through, and a lot of us still don't know about the other process of cancer. Like, do you do radiation? Do I do chemo? Like, which one did you decide to do, and maybe why did you choose that?
So initially, like I said, my best friend had breast cancer, but she had a different kind of breast cancer, which I didn't even know was different kinds until I got it myself. I thought breast cancer was
just
breast cancer, and so she got a double mastectomy. So when I went in, I was like, I'm getting a double mastectomy, and that was that. But then once I started to get more education, they were like, your chances of it coming back or it's like the same whether you get a double mastectomy or a lumpectomy. So the double mastectomy obviously is where you get both breasts removed, whereas the lumpectomy, they just remove the mass. And so I decided to go with the lumpectomy. And so if you get a lumpectomy, they make you go through radiation.
Okay.
And so after I did chemo, they make you wait about a month before you can have surgery. And so then I got the lumpectomy. I also got a reduction and a lift at the same time. And then you have to wait another month after that before you could have radiation. And so I did like 20 rounds of radiation, which was like the least amount that you could get.
Okay. And you had a good support system like that.
I did, yes.
That's good. What about you, Candace?
Sorry. So I did have breast cancer, but the first time I had cancer, I did chemo and radiation. And then the second time I needed a bone marrow transplant. So my sister was my donor for my bone marrow transplant, which is very rare in the Black community. We do not donate our bone marrow. And in order for someone to get a bone marrow transplant, they have to come from African American. And so I was lucky to have my sister, and then the third time my cancer came back, I had a stem cell transplant, and I used my own cells to do that. But just to piggyback on what you're saying, radiation and chemo change so much that people do not know. Your smell, your skin color. When I first started, I was 15 when I got cancer. I ended up being 30 the third time. But McDonald's used to be in the Texas Children's Hospital. For 2 years, I would literally be sick just to smell McDonald's because the smell made its way up there. And having chemo,
Chills.
all of your senses, everything. I couldn't even look at the color red. I know this is crazy, like in a liquid form, because my chemo was red. And I would see it drip in. So that's why it's so important when people say, oh, you beat cancer, good. And their mind think we're done. When you're a survivor, you have a whole other set.
Yes.
You have a mental set you have to deal with. Women, our breasts are getting taken away from us. We can't have children anymore because chemo and radiation has just ripped us apart inside. Like I'm saying, like with the smells and the colors. So I just want to acknowledge that, when people think okay, you beat cancer, that's amazing, and we're called survivors because we got to survive after cancer. So I just feel like I need to say that because when it comes to, radiation, people think, oh, good, radiation, good thing you didn't get chemo. Radiation is hard too. Radiation is very hard on your body.
So there's a big difference between the two.
Yes, yeah. So I like I said, I was a teenager when I first got cancer, and I used to have this long, thick hair. And my grandmother just died of cancer, so my whole family flew out, and we're at a table, and the doctor says, Candace has stage 4 cancer, and everybody just started crying. Remember, I'm 15, and I'm like, so what's going on with my hair? I'm 15, so I'm about to go in high school. And so he's like, oh, it's not going to come out. When I'm now going forward, when I'm 30 and I find out I have cancer, I can care less about hair. It's about, what is the treatment plan. But pretty girls with cancer, we say pretty is the new strong. And it's not about the outside, it's about the inside. Because as a woman, our hair, our breasts, the way we look, that's that's our strength, that's our pretty. And when that's taken away because we're trying to fight cancer, it's a lot of mental, it really is mentally exhausting, I would say.
Which is something else that I would want to touch on to anybody that wants to answer, because you still have to battle that physical aspect of it. But how do you cope and deal with the emotional and the mental, like, because mental health is important. So how did you get yourself back in gear to even deal with, the whole cancer situation?
I'll just start off from a caretaker's standpoint, and also someone who has lost their hair. So I mean, I have a form of alopecia. So as far as even losing your hair and what that feels like, and all of those things is something that I also identify with. I remember my mom. I shaved my hair for the first big fundraiser we did for the Rose, and I remember I said if we made our goal, I would shave my head, and my partner in good, Chris Noble, said she'll dye her hair pink. And so I shaved my head for that, and my mom was still alive at the time, and I remember her saying to me, "You got the cutest head." And that's before I found out I had alopecia. And so, again, when I had, hair loss, and I decided in 2020 to shave it and sort of share my own truth around that, I had my mom's voice in my head. "Kim, you got the cutest head." So I got that in my head, But, mentally having to sort of wake up for that physical outside, being different. My mom definitely was a makeup girl. Oh my God, my mom loved makeup more than me. I created the makeup, but my mom loved the makeup. She loved Lamique, and that's why she passed away at 62. And some people try to say, "Oh, that's young." I go, "But no, my mom's dream came true. Lamique, my makeup brand, that's my mom's dream, like all the way." And so for her, still getting her lashes done, got my little sister, you better do my lashes, making sure she have her makeup, her lipstick, all of these things did so much for who she was as a person. Because I think the main thing is like not to lose yourself, I think. And then from a mental sort of standpoint, I think my mom had a strong faith in God. She had a peace that surpassed understanding. She had a Jesus that she loved that was far greater than this world. So when she told me, and she used to make me play this song and make my sisters play it, and she would say, "Play this song, Happy." And at the time, we thought it was during the time of Pharrell's Happy song. So you're thinking, "Oh, she's talking about that." She said, "Oh, no, that's not the Happy I'm talking about. Go to YouTube, put it Happy. It's a gospel song." And the song was, "I'm Happy with Jesus Alone." And she would always make us play that. And she said, "That's what I am." So she was always trying to pour that peace into us because she had already received it. But that's the type of mental foundation I come from, and I had to sort of get up pace, and that's what I personally still continue to chew on and go on to go through my days.
Okay. Adrian, what about you?
So I would talk to my friends a lot, especially my best friend who was a survivor. So I probably would call her every day and talk to her about what I was feeling. I also during this time found out some other, found like a Facebook group of breast cancer fighters and survivors, and so I actually knew a couple of them that I didn't even know that they were battling at the same time with me. So I would kind of reach out to them and be like, "Hey, this is what's going on. This is how I'm feeling." And so we would kind of, encourage each other. I also had a strong faith as well. So my church family, they would always call. They would have people calling, checking in on me, sending me meals. So, when people would check on me, it did make me, feel better and thought of and stuff. So that helped me as well.
That's good.
I have to speak as a cancer patient.
Yes.
And, so I would say, as a caregiver, seeing the strongest woman you've ever seen, can't get out of bed, middle of the night, all type of stuff. That really played on my mental. I think for me at the time, a way of grieving already before they're still here, you're grieving. I just threw myself into work, like, and I know that's not everybody's coping skills, but that was mine because I just needed to go into doing work before I go see my mom and take care of her, because I moved in with her. Like, I was living in China and I came back from Shanghai and I moved in with my parents and took care of my mom. Now, as a cancer patient, I will say that I did not like people hovering over me. So, like, if I'm in the hospital bed, I didn't like people hovering over me. And I think why? Because I didn't want to think like they're hovering over me saying, oh, I feel so sorry for you. And, and so for me, when I had cancer, I think not talking about me having cancer helped me. So, like, I wanted my girlfriends to call and be like, talk about anything but this cancer.
Right.
Like, I need you to talk about, like, a reality show, what's going on, and like, I want to feel like normal.
Yeah.
The second time, after I beat cancer, the second time I was going to college, I didn't want anybody to know I was a cancer patient. Nobody. I was a senior, and I finally was like, okay, the American Cancer Society in Austin hosted the walk at my university. And they said, survivors do the first lap. And literally, I did the first lap, and people were telling me to get off they was like, get off for survivors. And I was just kept walking, and I never get my sorority sister was like, get off. And I was just like, I'm just walking. And one of my sorority sisters said, are you okay? And I finally, when I finished that walk, I was in tears because I thought it was just like, I was at a stage where I'm like, okay, it's okay to let people know I'm a cancer survivor. So the way I deal with stuff may not be I was hiding it, and I just didn't want to hear it and throwing ourselves into work, but that's what I had to do to get myself through what I was going through. So, but I do encourage talking to friends, therapy, obviously God, but yeah. So
Good. And you have kids, so how was that, like, trying to get their mental state, how was that?
So I have a big age gap, so they're 10 years apart. So I had a 14-year-old and a 4-year-old. And so the 4-year-old, he didn't understand. He just knew I was sick. And why did I have to go to the doctor all the time? What are those scars? Why do you have that in your chest, where my port was? And my oldest son, he just acted like nothing was happening, and I guess that's how he dealt with it. Like, he would just be in his room, playing video games and stuff. And so every now and then he would get like upset real easily. So I don't know if that kind of like, fueled his, how he dealt with it. So yeah, and I will say that I didn't really talk to them a lot about it, like, cause I don't know, I guess I was just kind of dealing with it on my own, so I didn't even, like, well, how does this make you feel, or, what are you thinking and stuff. So I do reflect on that now, like, oh, I probably should have checked in with them more and how they were doing.
Yeah, because I'm sure that's got to be tough for them, because you're their mom, you took care of your mom, but, your kid's looking at you like, well, was there a point where you ever, like, question God, like, why me? Why, why my mom, or why me, or,
I did. I was like, I think I've been a fairly decent person, so why am I going through this? I've had a lot of struggles in life, and I feel like, well, God, when am I going to get a break? It's just like things that, event after event. So I was just like, okay. But then, as I was going through it, then I was like, well, why not me? Because as I was going through it, I did let people know. So, a lot of younger people reached out to me. They would DM me. They was like, I don't go and get my mammograms, but now you have encourage me to go, or, you know, even younger women, like, you know, under 40, because honestly, I don't think I would have ever went to the doctor for a mammogram. I probably would have just brushed it off like, oh, that's probably just a cyst or something. Because my sisters, they had cysts before, and it wasn't cancer. And so if it had not been for my best friend who had it when she was young, I probably wouldn't have, you know, made a big deal about it. And the type that I have, it grows so fast. If I would have waited, then, you know, it could have been a later stage or something. So, but yeah, so.
Okay. What's something that you think people really should know about breast cancer, or just one, like, just like something that you think people may not know but may need to know about it?
Go ahead.
Well, for me, I think it's, you know, it doesn't discriminate. It's not an age thing. I think now, you know, I have a friend. She tried to get, she felt the lump, and she tried to get a mammogram ultrasound, but they wouldn't give it to her. They were like, oh, you're too young. And so they just kind of brushed it off. 6 months later, she has another lump. And so when she goes back, then they finally listened to her. And at this point, she was stage 3, because it had spread to her lymph nodes in her underarm. And so, but I've heard several women state that, you know, the doctors wouldn't order the proper testing for them because they were under 40. And so I think just, you know, it doesn't discriminate. Like, you could be 22 or any age under 40, and they don't start, you know, mammograms until, or recommend them until you're 40 years old. So just being able to find a doctor or that will do the testing for you.
You would think that with it being on the rise so much that, you know, I shouldn't have to go to stage 3 before I even find out. Like, you would just think that by now that, you know, it just would be different.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, also something else I want to bring up, because we were talking about the statistics earlier. In Houston, Black women are 42% higher to die to breast cancer. So in the Houston area, it's even higher. And I think something I want people to know that is higher than it is in the overall U.S. right here in Houston. And so I think something else we need to realize, what you said, getting the mammograms younger, paying attention, but then also the same way that we love to get up and sort of fight, and to be honest, healthcare is activism, and you have to activate around your own health. And the same way that Black women are dying at a higher rate of childbirth, what makes you think that there is not health disparities and racism in regards to when a Black woman says she's in pain, when a Black woman says, I feel something, and they say, oh, no, don't worry about it. And then sometimes, because of our own financial situations, it might be like, oh, a 3D mammogram costs this much, I don't have insurance. But if you can save up $300 to get your hair done, then you need to put that towards getting a mammogram. And I think that's where we are at this point. We have to take this in our own hands. Because if we're waiting for people to take us and to take Andrea's life as a value, and to take Candace's life as value, we're going to be waiting. And I think for us, we need to just realize that we've got to take ownership, and we've got to hold each other like how you were with your friend, and paying attention. That's the type of things that save lives. And I think that's what we need to really pay attention to. And we need to spend more money and more energy into talking about that, and versus talking about what bag I bought and all this other kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
I don't care.
Absolutely.
Right.
I care that you care about you enough
Absolutely.
to take care of you. And I think that's something that we should just pinpoint.
Well, ladies, with our viewers, would you mind sharing, like, is there any groups, I know you have your own group, that you can recommend, you know, anybody that's watching that could help someone, you know, who's either going through breast cancer or a caretaker, what organizations that you may yourself be a part of or will recommend to some of our viewers?
Well, I would like to say the Rose. I know you're here to represent them, but the Rose does amazing work. The mobile testing is amazing. I really encourage, if you have a corporation or you want to do an event, please get the Rose mobile. I mean, it's amazing because it comes into the communities that need it. Also, there's American Cancer Society has truly helped us as well. They even help with parking when you're at the hospital because it does get very expensive. And I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn, but Pretty Girls with Cancer.
That's right.
Yeah. I know this is a tad bit off topic, but I will say this because we kind of left off with your question. What I found surprising was I just want everyone to know that you're not alone when you get cancer. You are not alone. Don't think you're alone. Short story, I had multiple women come to me about their spouses cheating on them while they were having cancer. And it was so many that I decided to share my story because I have a situation. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I was with somebody, and once I got cancer, he stopped cheating, so it was the reverse. And yeah, the reverse. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because women were scared to talk about it, and I literally made a support group for them. And we no longer have it, but we will start back in 2023. But it just shows the strength of just talking, and you're realizing that you and this person have something together, and it connects. The support is definitely needed to get through. So Pretty Girls with Cancer, like I said, the Rose, American Cancer Society, and Sisters Network as well.
Yeah, I was just about to say, it's almost like a prescription, how I would kind of say a support group. So I would say if you are young, to be honest, I would take them to Pretty Girls with Cancer. Because Candace and, I mean, they just all make it so relatable for a young lady that's going through that time. And like you said, not just making it all about cancer, right? And I love that. And then I would say, you know, if you're having a situation where you are feeling alone and like you don't have anybody to go with you to chemo or to go, I would say go to Angels Surviving Cancer. They are true angels in the streets. They're beating the streets every day, going with people to go to cancer treatments, talking, they're with the doctor so they can understand what the doctor's saying. The doctor giving you a lot of information at one time. They're for that, also for the caretaker, because they all, most of them that are in the organization have had cancer, so they can tell you how to take care of them. And I've learned a lot from them in that way. My mom was one of the founding members of that organization, and now my godmother, she is the executive director, Janice Workoff. The Rose is great for, one, if you can't afford to get a mammogram, come see us at the Rose. If you got half the money, right, come see us at the Rose. If you are insured, go to the Rose. I think the Rose is a great place where you feel like a woman. It's sort of like this, you know, just a beautiful ambiance there at the clinic. And then I also would say Sisters Network. You know, you need other women that look like you. Triple negative breast cancer. They have webinars. Go to them. If you're a woman that's strong in your faith, and I would say go to Reconstruction of a Survivor. If you're a mature woman, you're a little older, Reconstruction of a Survivor, Dr. Janet over there, they're doing amazing things, and they do support groups inside of churches. A lot of the churches have support groups now. How you talked about your church supporting you. I went out to a lot of churches, and they have support groups inside of the church. So I would recommend those. I got a whole list of organizations and groups, and that's just because once you start to talk, you understand that, like you said, you're not alone. And there are resources for you, but those are the ones that I would say definitely look up.
Okay.
So I would say Sisters Network, as was mentioned. I also would recommend talking to your nurse navigator. They have a lot of resources. My nurse navigator, she was there when I found out my results, and she literally like walked me through each step of the process. So I still call her, text her whenever I need her. So I would suggest looking into that. There are Facebook groups, but I will caution you, sometimes you have to limit how long you're on there and like what you're exposing yourself to. So you have to know like your limits, because sometimes I would get on there and then when I got off, I was just feeling drained because all of the stuff that you're reading. And so you just have to be cautious if you are going to go into those groups, like, okay, I'm only going to get on here for this minute or this many minutes, or when I start to feel this, I'm going to get off of it, because it could, affect your mood and everything.
Okay. Yeah. Wonderful, ladies. Our next segment of the show.
Oh, can I mention one thing?
Of course.
Just one more. Since we all spoke about Sisters Network, Lamique is making an announcement this month. We're doing a specially curated lipstick called Remember, in tribute to those that we are remembering during this time. It's a beautiful pink shade. I mixed it today with another color. But Remember will be on sale on our website, and a part of the proceeds will benefit the Sisters Network.
Love it.
Yes.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Always giving back.
You ladies are phenomenal, and I can't say thank you enough for just being here, sharing, and opening up. Our next segment is called Sip of the Week, and our Sip of the Week, we do it every episode, where you get to talk about something or mention something, whether it's good, whether it's bad, something that made you maybe want to take a sip, or just whatever it is you want to share. Give your Sip of the Week. So, Miss Adrian, we'll start with you.
So you said it could be either good or bad.
Yeah, whatever it is that we like,
So I would have to say a situation at work. Okay, so one of my coworkers, I guess, last year she always wanted stuff and I always helped her out. And so this year I had to use her classroom for something this past weekend. And so when I left her room, I left it the way it was. But I guess when the custodians went in there, they took her tablecloths off her tables. And so she kept hounding me about these tablecloths like I had stole them. And I was like, they were there when I left them. And so if you need me to buy you some more, then I could just buy you some, but they were there. And so she was like, well, I checked with the custodians and they don't know. And, so she just kept emailing me. And so I was just getting so frustrated. I was just like, look. And so she was like, no, you don't have to buy me anymore. And then so I'm like, well, why are you still emailing me about these tablecloths? And so today I will say that I asked the custodian that worked on that day, and she said she had...
I need a drink.
She took the tablecloths and she thought we were like, she needed to throw them away. So she put them in another room, but she took them back to her today or whatever. But yeah.
You need to take a sip.
Yeah, I'm going to take a sip right now for you.
Oh my gosh. One thing before we even started taping today, Candace, is my first time seeing her since her mom made her transition. And, I just had to take her in for a moment. And I'll just say, we were talking about grieving. And I was saying, for me, grieving looks like moving. And so I'll just take a sip to the fact that Lamique is launching this Remember lipstick to raise money and awareness. Lamique, I had to take a sip to that because, to be honest, grief could have paralyzed me. So grief is moving me. And so I just want to take a sip to that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as of yesterday was my last day I quit my job.
Wow.
I'm going to be focusing 100% on pretty gross with cancer, and also working with a all-black mental health counseling agency. I got my master's and my clinicals, so pretty gross with cancer is going to go towards mental health. With the grief part, it just came a time where I stepped away from Pretty Girls with Cancer. It was too much, and it's time for me to step back in. And yesterday was my last day, and so many people said, "You sure you're leaving?" And my mom's spirit was like, "Yeah, she leaving." Yeah, and so I'm still been following. You want to come back? And so today's my first day not in work, and I'm stepping out on a leap of faith. And I just realized that part of me and my grieving is not. I can't control grieving, but I know my mission is to be here to help women. And so I want to still to get it back on track. Pretty Girls with Cancer, November the 11th, we're going to have a relaunch, and everyone's invited.
Yes.
And I'm going to just help to putting yourself first, your mental health first. And sometimes it's okay to be selfish and do what you need to do.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, this time I have a short sip of the week. My mom just recently had surgery, and she was in the hospital. Now, mind you, I need to take a drink because she kept sending me back and forth to my car. Go get my blanket. I forget the pillow. Go get my pillow. Go get my phone. You know, so I'm like, golly, if she sent me back to this car one more time, I'm just gonna drive home and just go home. But I didn't. But every time I went, the lady that's the receptionist, she kept saying, "Oh my God, you have the most beautiful smile." Now me, I hate smiling. That's just something that I don't do. For whatever reason, when I walked in, I was smiling. So when I came back, I kind of was just looking. She was like, "No, we want to see that beautiful smile." I smiled again. Then I come back, and then she's like, "There go that beautiful." So every time I'm going back and forth, I'm just a cheesing. But and then the last time that I went, she stopped me and she said, "You'd be surprised because most of the people that come in here are crying or unhappy because you're coming in the hospital. Nobody's going in the hospital to have a party or anything." So she says it lights up the room. So my sip is, you just never know how far just a simple smile could go. So that's my sip of the week. Sip and smile.
Love that.
And cheers, ladies.
Cheers. Cheers.
Yes.
So once again, I want to thank you ladies for coming on Champagne and Cigars today. You are phenomenal, strong, very empowering. Like, I've learned some things today that I didn't even know, like about cancer, breast cancer. So I commend you on your strength, your battle, your survivors, and thank you again for being on Champagne and Cigars. Thank you to my viewers for tuning in. Make sure you catch us next week. Click and subscribe, and I'm your host, Candy. Cheers.
Cheers.